My name is Lieutenant Colonel Justin Baker. I'm the head of the Centre for Armed Leadership, or the CAL, as we refer to it. And this is Professor Lloyd Clark, Director of Research at the Centre. A couple of very quick mandatory safety notifications, if I may. In the event of a fire, please make your way in a calm and orderly manner out of the building, either through the way you came or through the exits on this bottom tier, and over to the large grass pitches in front of New College, the big red building on the right-hand side. In the event of a more serious incident, again, please make your way to that area where the security staff will take control of the situation. For those of you that have been invited and have paid to attend the afternoon sessions at either Le Marchant or Robertson House, from lunchtime onwards, your points of contact will be a Major Russ Lewis and a Major Paul McFarland, who will be situated directly outside the registration point of the VRP marquee after the morning session is finished, and they will be able to answer any queries or steer you into the right direction for the afternoon's activities. So, I know that it's been an early start for many of you this morning, if not the majority, but we are absolutely delighted to have you here. We have a cracking lineup of speakers for you this morning, and if you continue on to this afternoon's packages, again, some really exciting activities to continue the motion. We're delighted to see such fantastic attendance. I think we've pretty much hit most of our 900 that were invited or purchased tickets. And you represent the various ranks, cap badges, formations and headquarters of the British Army, but also the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy are represented here, the Defence Academy and international defence partners from France and from Australia. We're also presently live streaming on Defence Connect to numerous units, which include 4th Battalion PWRR, British Army Training Unit in Canada, 212 Field Hospital and 4th Close Support Regiment RLC, to name a few. But there's also some great representation here today from the civilian sector and from other government departments, including faith, sports, business, commercial and finance. So why a conference? Well, this year, as you can see, is a significant expansion to the one that we had last year. It was small in Robertson House, largely invitational, 80 people only. This year is far more ambitious, and I feel slightly nervous as well as excited, to say the least. But what we've learned from last year, and we've seen reaffirmed time and again when we visited units and given presentations across the Army in the last 23 months, is an absolute and utter passion for a discussion about leadership and about how to be developed as both leaders and individuals. It really does sit at the core of who we are as an organisation. We think that events such as this at the CAL that are open to all ranks and those of any position to be exposed to a range of perspectives is a really integral part of that Army leadership offer and really adds to our wider intellectual development as individuals. The aims of the conference then today, clearly to address an important theme, which Lloyd will come on to talk about, which is highly topical, but also to build your own internal and external leadership networks and to enhance the Army's reputation for leadership. Perhaps most importantly, it's an attempt to educate us all just that little bit more about this aspect of leadership to allow us to walk away, hopefully, as Lloyd would say, with something that we can actually use on Monday morning in our own organisations. A conference of this scale clearly doesn't happen without lots of support and hard work. Accordingly, we'd like to offer our sincere thanks to Scarbeck Associates, Leaders Consultancy, Inspirational Development Group and Canaccord Genuity, who have all offered advice throughout the planning of this conference, but have matched this with really generous financial assistance to make this happen today. On a personal note, I'd also like to thank all the members of the CAL team and the Sandhurst Trust who have worked tirelessly over the last couple of months to really make this happen in detail. And more broadly, all those units that have provided the manpower today for traffic duties, gate duties, catering, etc. A couple of parish notices to finish. I'll address the elephant in the room. The more astute of you will have looked through the booklet and seen that we are now running through a full programme of speakers this morning without a deliberate coffee break. People are probably panicking and looking back through the brochure now thinking, is there really no coffee break in the middle? Some will be thinking, I wish I hadn't drunk quite so much coffee. Others will be thinking, I wish I had more coffee inside me. Do not panic. Please use the facilities at your leisure throughout. But I would ask you, where possible, to use the deliberate 5-minute breaks in between the speakers to take that up. We will be looking to stick strictly to the times, and we will be bringing you back in and incentivising you to be on time and participate in the presentations themselves. We want to really value your input today, so please utilise the opportunities for questions on Slido or on one of the mics, which will be on both tiers. And for those of you that are just here for the morning session, there will be a poll on Slido at the end of the morning to give us your feedback. And for those that are going on to the other sessions, there will be hard copy feedback forms. You'll see on the screen the instructions to Slido, as I say. It's also the social media information for the hashtag. Please do use it. Follow us on Twitter. Post this on your own networks throughout the day just to spread this message of leadership. So, enough of me. I hope you really enjoy what we have planned for you today. And I will hand you over to Professor Lloyd Clark, who will then talk briefly about the theme.
Thanks, Justin. The Centre for Army Leadership is located in Robertson House, which is named in honour of Sir William Robertson, who joined the army as a private in 1877, was created a Field Marshal in 1920, just a couple of years after the conclusion of the First World War, died in 1933, the year that Hitler came to power. When reading Robertson's autobiography, it's obvious that he was living in a world that was changing rapidly. And it's also clear that Robertson, the leader, whether as a soldier or as an officer, was consistently engaged with the business of change, whether delivering it as directed by his superiors or initiating change of his own design. Opening the book at random, one may alight on Sergeant Robinson, grappling with pay and conditions of service. Major Robertson, trying to get to grips with the implications of technology and tactics and training. Or General Robertson, endeavouring to understand the implications of new government policy. There's no doubt, however, that the greatest leadership challenge that Robertson faced was during the First World War, when he was Chief of the Imperial General Staff, the professional head of the British Army. And 100 years ago this week, he wrote to a colleague, "The army has changed out of all recognition to the one landing in France in 1914 and has done so while fighting the enemy. It has been a chastening experience, but a necessary one. In the peace that will come, the army must continue to change and adapt to new conditions. It is up to everyone to play their part." Now, the idea that everyone has their part to play in leading through change is something that I took up in a conversation that I had with one of the British Army's surviving field marshals, Lord Bramall, in a recent conversation that I had with him. Now, Dwin Bramall himself served as a private in the Home Guard in 1940, landed in Normandy on the 7th of June 1944, held divisional command during the Cold War, was Chief of the General Staff during the Falklands War, then became CDS and served for 25 years in the House of Lords before retiring in 2013. He saw remarkable change during that time. And Field Marshal Bramall explained to me, leadership can be comparatively easy when things are going well, when success is at hand, when morale is high. Strong leadership is most needed, however, when change, perhaps unpopular change, becomes necessary, inevitable even, for the good and future of the organisation as a whole. That change must be seen through very positively and without any drop in morale. We must also pay heed to what does not need changing. So leading change demands our attention. And that's why we're all here today and why we have a stellar lineup of speakers to listen to. We start this morning's session with an exploration of the context for what makes change necessary, and that will be given by Nick Gowing and Chris Langdon, before Dr. Margaret Heffernan opens our minds to the implications of willful blindness. The second half of the morning is taken up more specifically with the voice of experience, and we'll welcome John Manzoni, who'll talk about leading through change in both the business and private sectors, followed by David Marquet, a former US nuclear submarine captain, who'll discuss why he thinks that change starts with us as individuals. I'm sure it's going to be a thoroughly stimulating and enjoyable morning. But I'll end with a final quote from Field Marshal Bramall. "It is ironic that change is such a constant that we forget just how much attention it deserves. We think we're pretty good at leading through change, but not all of us are, and even the best can benefit from more learning and more improving. I hope you enjoy your day, and I'd like to hand over now to Sergeant Mitten, who'll be introducing our first speakers. Thank you.